Relationships can be a very rewarding experience. However, if we don't go about them the right way, it can be a very frustrating experience. And so it's important that we understand what's going to help nurture a relationship or what's going to actually hurt a relationship. And it's very easy as human beings to overlook some of the work that needs to be done because we're just so excited to be with this person. You meet someone, you fall for them, everything seems to be going great, or at least enough things are going great. And that can cause you to maybe look past a red flag or think a red flag is more yellow than red, right? Um, and to lose sight of some of the important things and fall into traps that will make things a lot worse. Now, before I get into this video, real quick, I just want to mention, listen, again, as I said in the beginning, relationships, they can take work. But when done right, it can produce an amazing payoff. And that's why I think it's always important for us to look for ways to improve in our relationships and ensure that we can have the most successful experiences. And that's why I'm always on the lookout for tools and information that's going to help you achieve that. And I think I found a great tool in the Paired app. With the Paired app, you'll get daily quizzes and questions sent directly to you and your partner, designed by relationship experts to help encourage meaningful conversations, improve communication, and strengthen your bond, making it the ultimate relationship companion. Every great love story takes effort. Start by putting in the work today and click the link below to get a 7-day free trial and 25% off of Paired Premium. So, I want to make sure you're always set up for success and give you some things to be mindful of as you move forward in any romantic relationship. So I'm going to give you some of the common mistakes that people make in relationships. And one of the biggest mistakes that people make is letting issues pile up. Okay? So what I mean by that is this. Let's paint the picture. You meet a man, you guys are dating, things seem to be going really well. Or at least there's certain things about this situation that you are really enjoying. However, let's say we are in the relationship now. You guys are official. You've been together for a little while. And let's say he does something to piss you off, okay? Which is going to happen to every woman, every person. There's going to be a moment where your partner makes you mad. And so for various reasons, let's say you don't say anything about it, right? They make you mad, but even if it shows a little bit on you and they ask you what's wrong, you're like, nothing. Either you don't want to talk about it, maybe you feel like you don't want to seem like you're being petty because you've been told that before. Whatever the reason is, you don't say anything, right? Move along. Then let's say something else, months later, weeks later, something else happens. Again, this time you don't say anything, or maybe you figure, you know what, I'm gonna say something this time, but not yet. Let me wait till we're together in a few more days, and then we discuss it. But in the next few days go pretty well, and you figure, you know what, let me not rock the boat and bring this up. Either way, this pattern continues until one day something happens, makes you mad, and it blows up. And what so many people overlook or maybe aren't aware of is the fact that that blow up in that moment isn't really just about that moment. It's the piling up of all the other moments that went unaddressed and lingered and were basically depositing negative energy into your system, into your spirit, to where now everything goes left. And then the problem is because the blow up may not match the offense, right? Your partner, this man, is like confused, like, why is this such a big thing? Why are we having this huge argument over this? But they don't realize it's because it's a multitude of things, not just what's happening in that moment. Or they don't understand that that moment, for example, let's say he doesn't bring you any food. He was on his way home. He gets some food from wherever, Chick-fil-A, I don't know, right? And he didn't bring you any. And it's not that you're so upset because he didn't bring Chick-fil-A in that moment, but it's you're so upset because you feel like he's constantly not thinking about you and being considerate and looking out. All right. Especially if you feel like you've done it for him. But to him, it's like, why are we arguing about Chick-fil-A right now? But it's deeper than that. All that to say, this is the mistake of letting the issues pile up. This is the mistake of dismissing certain tense moments or displeasures as not too big of a deal because you're just letting it add up, add up, add up. The best thing to do is when something bothers you, talk about it. Doesn't matter how small, doesn't matter if you think it's insignificant, talk about it. The quicker you can address and resolve, the better. Because now, when something new happens, we can just focus on that, which makes it 10 times, 100 times easier to then address and find resolution. And it lessens the intensity of the conflict or the blow up in that moment because it's isolated to just that one situation. So it's important that if you are in a relationship and you feel like you cannot talk about certain things, that's an issue that needs to be resolved right away. There needs to be an agreement or understanding that, hey, however we're feeling, we can come to each other about it. If we got to create a safe space we should always create a safe space to do it. But if we have to create structure, like I have this thing I call the relationship checkup, people may refer to it in different ways, but same concept where, listen, there may be a set time, once a month, once a week, once every few months, whatever, where you guys sit down with each other, excuse me, and lay out, pretty much do an inventory on the relationship. What's good, what's not going so good, what needs to be addressed. And that really should not just be the only thing, but having that as like the extra backup to make sure nothing lingers on too long is great. But ideally, we just want to have it to where we're always comfortable with going to our partner in any moment to discuss any and everything. Okay. And I'm telling you, it will make your relationship 100 times better. All right. Another huge mistake, and some people might be sensitive to this topic, but I got to be real with y'all. Another huge mistake that people make in relationships is not being honest about sex and attraction. Okay. Now, quick disclaimer, I understand for those who are believers, the goal is always waiting till marriage. But I also always acknowledge that I know that though many may have that understanding, many don't wait that long. Okay. Many will fall short in that area. And that's not to judge, that's just, it is what it is. Okay. And so, because many are going to still have sex before they get married, I still think it's important to discuss these things and address some of the additional pitfalls that come from this as well. All right. Now, with that said, what do I mean about not being honest about sex and attraction? Let's focus first on sex. And I think this is so important for the women. So, there's a lot of scenarios where a woman meets a man, she likes the man, gets relationship with the man, whether she has sex while dating him or in the official relationship, sex at some point is had. And let's just say it's not that great. I usually use harsher words like it's trash, but we're not going to go that far. We're just going to say, it's it's okay, but it's nothing special for her. But she doesn't want to let go of this man because he's a great man. He's wonderful. He's loving. He's attentive. He's everything she would desire otherwise. He just, comes up short in that department. So, but she doesn't want to hurt his ego either. So she, may fake orgasm. She has him believing he's just, doing his thing in the bedroom, whatever. And this may eventually lead to marriage. And at some point, there's only so long the woman can keep up the act. And eventually, she's going to start to reject him more often, his advances to have sex. Eventually, she's going to be less engaged, right? And it's going to lead to a more sexless or just a very decreased amount of intimacy between them when it comes to actual sex. And for many couples, many marriages, like this is a huge deal that is it. I don't want to say it begins the deterioration because the issue was before that, but it is what basically destroys a lot of relationships. Okay, the sexual disconnect, and so it's a huge mistake. Though I understand why a lot of women don't say anything, or maybe even feel like it's not that important. So to them, they'll just push past it. But it's like it's not about whether you can push past it right now. It's about how will this affect the relationship as the years go by? Is this really a sustainable approach? And though there is a fear of talking to that man about his performance, right? If you can't speak to him about things like that, then what else will you not be able to speak to him about? And now, by the time it becomes such an issue to where, let's just say, all right, now you're married, you're barely having sex, and you finally tell him, like, listen, you're not happy with the performance, you're not happy with the way it works, you're not getting enough satisfaction from it. He's not going to be. It's going to be harder for him to be receptive to that because essentially you've been feeding him a lie all those years. You've been leading him to believe it was great. So to him, you're just being spiteful right now. You're just making excuses. You're just being difficult, not you're being genuine and this is what you need. Okay? As well as, yeah, if you weren't able to talk to him about sensitive topics like this all this time, then he may just indeed be very sensitive. And so now he takes it in a very negative way, and that creates another slew of problems. So the best way to combat that is to be honest from the jump. All right. You again create a safe space where you both can be real with each other. And that's what's important for you to understand. And I know that might be a tough pill for you to swallow, but just as I would want you to give him constructive criticism in that area to improve things, you have to be open to his constructive criticism and not take it as an attack on you, but take it as, all right, this is an opportunity for us to learn each other more, grow, and strengthen these areas. Okay. If you're gonna be engaging in it, it's gonna be a part of your relationship, and of course it's gonna be a part of your marriage. You gotta have that foundation of being able to discuss all of these things. So it's important that honesty is there with the sex. Again, I've seen so much go wrong because of it. But then let's also talk about attraction. Now, this is another one of those topics where I honestly feel like society has made it very difficult for people to be real with each other about attraction. Okay. Because what's always pushed is, well, if you the whole idea of, well, looks fade, attractions fade. And I make this joke like, okay, well, health fades, but you don't go find your date at the emergency room. Like, just because it fades doesn't mean it's not important to you right now, right? And it doesn't have a very powerful impact on things right now. Also, there's the idea of, well, if you love them, that stuff shouldn't matter. And it's like, listen, love, connection will absolutely make someone be much more flexible with those things with you than they would be with someone else. Okay. Well, what they might feel like is so important. Like, so for example, if a woman says, I want a man that's over 6 feet, she wants a man that's over 6 feet, but she may fall in love with a man that's 5'9", right? I feel like some of y'all was like, ooh. Listen, for some people, 5'9" is good. For some of y'all, maybe that ain't gonna work for you. Anyways, the point is, she falls in love with 5'9". Now, with her 5'9", her short king, really 5'9" isn't even that short. But either way, with her guy, she can accept that with him. But if she left him, she'd probably be right back to looking for over 6 feet, right? So it's like we become more flexible with that person we genuinely fall for. But with other people, it would still be an issue. So the point that I'm getting at is, yes, it creates flexibility, but everyone has a line, okay? There's still a line that if your partner goes past that, it can cause problems. And we have to be honest about it. So even though this is an impossible scenario, if using the height situation, you know what? I'm going to use something different. This might sound bad, but let me just roll with it. All right. Let's say you're a woman who also cares about the size of his package. Okay. And let's say in this, so let's just say you meet this man and he has the perfect package for you. And when I say package, well, he's packing in his pants. All right, just so we're clear. So let's say that you're looking at that. It's great. And let's just say due to him not taking care of himself, it shrinks. And he lose whatever that length is that you like. Let's shave off 3 inches. Okay, we don't know 3 inches off because in life he just stopped taking care of himself. For some of y'all, you might say, oh, no, it's still not a big deal. I'll be okay. And for some of y'all, it's gonna be like, oh, absolutely not. This is unacceptable. Especially if he can do something about it to fix it. I would want him to fix. You would want him to fix it. So what I'm getting at is when it comes to attraction, and of course, attraction is more than just looks, right? So don't just focus on that, but let's focus on it for a second. We all have a line, but people aren't being honest about that line. And then what happens is they get with their partner. Over the years, things change, people put on weight, whatever the case may be, and then it goes past that line. But because we're not being honest about it, one, we weren't able to address it before it got that far, right? And now that we are that far, and it's having a negative impact on the intimacy, the way we interact with each other, you know, the way we show respect to each other, believe it or not, yes, that happens as well, right? And we're not comfortable with now bringing it up. And the reality is that many people who then bring it up later, it becomes a huge backlash and makes all kinds of issues. And they may remain in the relationship, but the relationship is dying. Because the reality, whether people like it or not, is attraction is the ingredient that takes your relationship from platonic to romantic. All right. So it's like when you talk to people and you say, well, why aren't you with this friend that you get along with so well and knows you so well? One of the number one answers you're going to hear is because they're not attracted to them. That's the missing ingredient. If they were physically attracted to them like that, that would completely alter their relationship and it would open the door to something romantic happening. So, on the flip side, if you start with attraction in a relationship and then you remove it, you have scenarios where they're like roommates now. You have scenarios where it turns into like a platonic friendship. And really, we can't even say friendship because a lot of times they're at war with each other because they're not happy with each other right now. So again, I know it's a sensitive topic. It's something that maybe we got to do a different video and dive even deeper. But the point I'm getting at here is it's a huge mistake to not be honest as early as possible about what that line is for you, right? And making sure that one, we are on the same page with that and understanding what those lines are, and that we are willing to embrace it. Because, yes, the line you present to someone and the line they present to you, you might be like, well, that doesn't work for me. I can't promise you that I'm not going to cross that line. All right, then maybe that just means we don't need to move forward together. But if it's like, okay, I can accept that, I can do that. And now when we're creeping close to that line, either side, it's going to be so much easier to be like, hey, remember what we talked about it? Let's make sure we handle this. Let's do what we got to do to get this back on track. And again, it's not just physical; it's various things. It's the way someone might carry themselves. It's even them being ambitious and energetic, right? If someone goes from being this energetic, ambitious person to then just being just void of life and energy and they're a drain on you, that's going to also affect the attraction. So it's all those layers that contribute to how drawn you will be to your partner and discussing those things as early as possible. All right, so let's keep this thing going. And another huge mistake people make in relationships is comparing their relationship to others. Okay. So in today's world of social media and the internet, this issue has become much more common and much more powerful or impactful because there's so many examples and being able to see into other people's relationships. Being able to see what they want to show you, which is what we're going to get into a little bit more in a second. Um, you're seeing pictures of people on trips and doing these cute things and this and that, and everything seems so beautiful. And then you're looking at your relationship with your man like, why we ain't doing none of that? Why you so sorry? Like, when you gonna do what this man did for his girl, or whatever the case may be? And as they say, comparison is a thief of joy. And so a lot of people aren't able or struggle more to embrace and enjoy and appreciate what they have because they're too focused on what they don't because of what they're seeing from others, right? So it's really important that, one, you got to start with understanding that what people show you is not the full picture, okay? And you don't want to envy or be jealous of what other people have because you don't know the price they paid to get it or the price they are paying to keep it. All right. But I can tell you firsthand as a coach, like I've seen myself, people who are presenting online this beautiful, amazing relationship, and it's complete chaos behind the scenes. Okay. So you really don't understand what's going into it. You also have to understand these are snapshots. These are moments in time. But the real goal isn't having just these special moments. It's the consistent quality in our relationship. It is so much better, just using a year time frame. It is so much better to have 365 days out of the year where even though there's nothing extravagant and extra happening in your relationship, it is consistently good, loving, pouring into each other, doing the little things versus, all right, constant up and downs. And yeah, you may have some big ups where these vacations or doing this and this special thing and whatever the case may be that you can put on your social media page. But if it's not consistently good, is that really worth it? Okay. So you got to remember that. You got to also understand that people are at different stages of their relationship. You don't even know what stage they're at, right? Maybe that couple that you're seeing had to overcome a lot of stuff in the beginning to get to that great place. And rather than focus on the comparison, focus on, all right, what can we be doing in our relationship to improve it, right? And make it work for us, not make it work for the internet and what other people would think, but for us and how we can create more communication and more transparency that will allow us to make sure all issues are resolved. So comparing is a problem. Don't fall into that trap, right? Um, and also don't don't weaponize it. Like another thing that you'll see sometimes is then people saying, well, this couple did this. Why can't you do like, don't do that to your partner ever. And of course, this is something that I say to men and women. It's like, no, just focus on y'all. All right. And if it needs to be better for y'all, let it be better for y'all. But not, oh, better because, well, look what they're doing. Why can't we do? No, just y'all. Focus on you two. But yes, comparison, definitely a big problem. All right, got a couple more to go. And another big mistake people make in relationships is not creating enough quality time with each other. Okay. So I know that for a lot of people, they got a lot going on, and life can make it difficult to be as available sometimes for your relationship, for your partner, as even you would like. And I get it, and I understand that. But I do think that you have to make sure, or two people have to make sure that one, they gain an understanding of how much time the other really needs to be happy and fulfilled. Because one of the mistakes within this mistake is like assuming this time should be enough, assuming seeing you once a week or going out every once a month or whatever the case may be should be enough, rather than understanding, no, they may need person you're dealing with may need higher levels of quality or higher amounts of quality time. And I believe there's two types of people in regards to this. There are the individuals who they want to be up under their partner constantly, okay? And there's men like this, there are women like this. And I feel they are best suited with each other. Um, they want to do things together all the time. They just want that closeness with their partner constantly. Then you have other people who they want to be able to indulge with their partner and enjoy them fully, but they like some space too. And so they don't mind some breaks here and there and, giving a little space, little breather, and then come back together, indulge and things of that nature. Even if they're together and married, they just like that being able to do their own thing as well. Not in an unhealthy or way that violates the relationship, just in a good way. And I believe those two people tend to be better off with each other. And the problem that you'll have in a lot of relationships is that the person who likes space gets with the person who wants to be up under their partner, and they never have a discussion to understand this about each other. And then boom, it's constant conflict, right? It's going because you're trying to get the other to go against what their nature is and what they're truly happy with. All right. So have a discussion, and we have to make it to where people are comfortable to just be real. Like you got to like let them know, like tell me and be honest. I'm not going to don't get mad. Don't be like, oh, that's ridiculous. That's too much. No, just hear what they need. Right. And it doesn't make them strange or weird or anything like that. It's just how people are wired. But once we understand that base of if we want to be up under each other or we like space, then it's still making sure that there is sufficient quality time being created. I do think that this is especially important for if you're already married. It is so easy to get caught up in life, kids, work, whatever the case may be, and not even realize you haven't been giving your partner as much time as needed. So structure is a great thing to have. This is why I like the whole date night thing, because at least it has a built-in structure that holds people accountable to where this is the time we will spend together. But I think it's important to understand date night does not have to be leaving the house and going somewhere. Date night can just be like sitting at home, watching movies, eating your favorite foods, whatever. Maybe still getting a babysitter so y'all can just have the time to yourselves. You can still be away from the kids in that moment for those who are able to do that, but you get to just indulge in each other, right? So however that looks like, and again, though, it's important to have those discussions because you don't want it to be one person always wants to be home, the other person always wants to be out. Maybe this is where, okay, we find a compromise. Maybe it's every other week. One week we do something at the house, next week we go somewhere. Whatever it is, having that structure is great, it is powerful, it is beautiful. But again, don't just stop there. You want to make sure, is that enough? Is your partner getting the attention they feel that they need from you? If not, what else would be required or desired from them? And let's see, can we make that work? And find, if it can't be exactly how they want it, can we find a compromise that leaves everyone happy? And again, and it allows us to create enough time of bonding to where we can really strengthen the relationship. All right. So with what we just talked about, this is an important point for me to make. Another huge common mistake people make in relationships is not accepting their partner for who they really are. Okay. So there's a great quote that says, men marry hoping the woman will never change. Women marry hoping the man will change. All right. So I do think that there is a greater level of wanting to see more out of their partner or more of an evolution at times from the woman's side than it is from the man's side. However, this issue of not fully accepting your partner for who they are happens across the board. And it really starts with not even truly understanding who you're dealing with. Okay. And this also is about the whole learning to not date potential, but date reality. All right. Or be in a relationship with reality, not potential. So essentially, people meet. A lot of times, again, they're giving their representative. So it's not just your partner's not taking enough time to figure you out. Sometimes it's like, are you showing your partner? Do you even know yourself to show your partner the true real you? Either way, people get together in relationships trying to keep up a certain character, a certain presentation, whatever the case may be, that doesn't fully align with who they are. And let's just use the example of the woman wanting more out of the man, hoping he will change, evolve, get better. So let's just say you get with this man, in a relationship with him, and you feel he has all this potential. And so you're trying to push, encourage, some of you drag him to this better place, to what you perceive as his better place, but you're ignoring that this just goes against who he is. So an example of that is, you know, I've been at a lot of events with women of God, let's say church events, her type of events, and you'll hear women talk about how like the woman can magnify the man, which I believe that. Like she can take his purpose and magnify it and add more to it and all these things. And like I'll hear these women say, yeah, like if he's an electrician, you know, I can help him own the electrician company. And that's great. But what if he doesn't want to do that? What if he's just not that type of guy, right? You can't just have this vision and force it upon him, because that's going to create frustration on both sides. He's frustrated because you're trying to get him to do things he doesn't really care to do. And you're frustrated because you're like, why won't he want to do these better things? Why wouldn't he want to own his own company? Because everybody's not built for that. Everybody's not wired for that. He doesn't find happiness there. He is completely content in his position, making the good money that he makes. He feels like, all right, I got roof over my head, I got food on my table, I got my relationship. He does not care for more. And so it's a huge mistake to ignore that and say, no, I'm just gonna keep pushing him. And then again, people get married thinking, well, now that we're married, maybe that'll light the fire in him. No, he's just not that guy. And again, on the flip side, even if you succeed, if he's not that guy, he may get to that higher place. He may own that company, but now he's constantly stressed out, constantly miserable, because this is not where he really wants to be. And I'm giving just the example in career, but there's so many other aspects of life where we're trying to pull the right things out of the wrong person. And when I say the right things, we're trying to pull the things that we desire out of someone who just doesn't have it in them. It doesn't make them a bad person. It's nothing like that. But you guys may not fit together. They're just not capable of giving you what you desire. And we have to accept that. So the best thing to do to combat this is you got to learn this person again as quickly as possible. Ask questions, talk about things, and don't project onto them what you think they should be and become. Learn who they are, and if they have desires to become more, if they want to push themselves, and then if they're like, okay, if he says to you, yeah, man, I'm an electrician, but I really want to own my own company, and if you're like, okay, I would love to help encourage this man to reach those levels, now you're good to go, because he already had it in him. And now you're just adding and encouraging and uplifting and magnifying. But you can't think you're going to put it in him and force it out of him. It's just not going to work. So definitely a huge mistake. You got to accept people for who they are. And let me say this before we move on. You can't expect to learn who they are if you can't tell them who you are. Like, you're not going to, it's hard to get full openness and transparency from someone if we're not being open and transparent ourselves. So it starts with you knowing yourself, being confident in who you are, and being able to fully express your needs, your desires, your dreams, all of it, and then let them do the same and see if it can actually work or not. Thank you for watching this video. I pray it was helpful to you. Be sure to watch this one over here on how to communicate with a man. 7 amazing tips. If he's willing, he's going to do it. But you got to be specific. And I'm giving these very simple examples, and maybe some of you may not agree with those examples, but I hope you understand the